Hello and welcome, friends. Today I have a new recipe card for you. This is recipe number 4 and I'm calling it strips. So basically crafting with just strips of paper. In this case, I'm crafting with the Hero Arts September card kit subscription, and in this month's card kit you get 10 sheets, or I should say really half sheets of a solid color cardstock. This is the really good stuff, like the 100-pound cover weight cardstock, and you get it in each of these colors: truffle, merlot, cinnamon, terracotta, carrot, coral, bellini, beeswax, saffron, and tuscan. I chose 5 colors and I cut 2 strips each in about half-inch widths, but you can really use any width that you want, and they don't even all have to be the same. I would definitely play with different widths of cardstock as well. This is a great scrap buster recipe because if you've got little scraps of solid color cardstock or pattern paper, this would look really lovely with pattern paper as well. And then maybe try this technique out. So besides our strips of cardstock or pattern paper, we'll need a card base, and this is a great one for any size card. I am crafting an A2, so that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then you'll need your focal image and sentiment. And if you're going to craft the way that I'm crafting today, if you're not a big fan of coloring, maybe try this recipe out, because I really want to make this array of papers, solid color cardstock. I want this to be the star of my card. So I'm actually just going to stamp and color. The Fall is my favorite 6x6 stamp set. It has a bunch of these fun little squirrels. I'm just going to stamp it in black and just leave it black and white. I'm not going to color it in at all. But what I did do was I took the same colored cardstock and I picked 5 colors. So I picked the lightest, the mid, and then the darkest. And I die cut some leaves. These leaves are actually from the Spellbinders September large die of the month. Really great that the Hero Arts and September Club kits kind of coordinate thematically this month. And so I die cut those out of some of the same colored cardstock, and that helps to actually add a little bit of visual texture so that it sort of breaks all of those straight lines a little bit. And I took the Thankful for You sentiment that's in the stamp set from the Hero Arts card kit, and I'm gold heat embossing it onto one of those strips. It actually works out perfectly. I think the size of the sentiment is just perfect with this half-inch tall strip that I've got. And then it's just a matter of laying down some of these die cuts in a way so that it really breaks those straight lines, as I mentioned. So this yellow one, I'm going to glue it down right near the top so it overlaps and it's got like a little bit of tone on tone, but then it breaks up above and below that particular colored strip. And I think that just helps to make the strips a little bit more interesting so it's not so blocky. I'm going to do the same with the other 2 leaves as well, kind of working in that rule of odd numbers. So that's why I chose 3 leaves, and I chose the lightest, the mid, and the dark, just so that we have some of that same visual interest and the same colors. And I didn't want to introduce any new colors to this, so I thought that would be a lot of fun. And then last minute I decided let's do a little bit of splattering with some gold, because I did gold heat emboss the sentiment. So what I did was just took some scrap paper to cover up the sentiment and my focal image, because I already glued those down. But I don't want the gold splatter on top of those to interfere with like the legibility of the sentiment or cover any bit of the little squirrel, which I also used as a way to kind of break those lines between the color blocking and the white that's on top. Okay, so now for my second card, because that first card actually didn't use all of the strips that I cut initially. So I am trying to use up my the rest of my scraps here. And this is why this is such a great recipe for scraps, because if you have a lot of just these little bits of cardstock, this is a great way to use them up. And that's the whole idea behind my idea of recipe cards. It's really just an easy formula for you to follow, and still, just as you were to maybe cook your own dish of, chili or spaghetti, everybody sort of has their own taste, their own ingredients that they happen to have in their house. And so really the recipes are just meant to be a way for you to have a concept that you can then apply using the things that you have, or using whatever your personal aesthetic is. If you think about all of the different ways that you could lay out these strips, there's so many different options. I'm just keeping it really simple with horizontal lines for my first card, diagonal lines for this card. You could have some strips going vertically if you wanted, and then you could get really fancy, and I'll probably do this in some follow-up videos following this recipe as well. But you could get into like a more quilted pattern, you could get into that herringbone pattern, all from just cutting down strips of either solid color cardstock like what I'm using today, or pattern paper. I think pattern paper would look really lovely as well. And so you can always come up with your own patterns too, and just have fun with laying down these strips in fun and interesting ways. And then I think keeping things really striking with a fair amount of white space, and as well focal images that you just leave black and white, so that the pattern that you're creating and the papers that you're using kind of become the star of your card. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I am going to stamp my sentiment in the white portion of the card. There's quite a lot of white here. The color blocking is actually pretty, I don't think it's minimal, but it's only about, say, like a third of the card. And so I'm going to try to fill up some of this white space with the sentiment to start. Fall is my favorite color, which I love this sentiment because I feel like it's a really great way to kind of describe this technique of these just strips of paper, because it's all about the color coming from the strips and not from the stamped images. In the stamp set, there is that there's a single stamp that has a lot of little different shaped leaves, and it's sort of meant to kind of be strung up on that line that's above it on the stamp set. But what I did was I just used a clear Versamark ink, and I stamped onto some of the scraps, some of the leftover colored cardstock, and use the coordinating die, because all of the images have coordinating dies. The sentiments don't have coordinating dies, but the images have coordinating dies. And so I die cut those out, and that way you have just sort of a monochromatic look to those leaves. I didn't want to stamp it in black and have like really that dark black outline to the leaves. I just wanted to keep it a little bit tone on tone, so that we really have just a focus on these colors from the colored cardstocks that I've chosen. And I've only used 5 of the colors that you get. You get 10 in total if you're getting the card kit. I'm going to leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check any of that out for yourself. But I did fill this white space up quite a bit with the idea of the leaves falling down, and that squirrel hoping to catch this particular one that is falling towards him. So I thought this was kind of cute, and I tried to also make sure that some of the leaves hung off the edge, giving it that more organic look to it. So here's a final look at the 2 cards that I created following recipe number 4, strips. So really just strips of solid color cardstock. In this case, I used 5 different colors. I cut them all to 1/2 inch wide strips. This was the first one that I made, and I just kept both of them pretty simple with just lines. So in the case of the first one, horizontal lines, and in the case of the second one, diagonal lines. I hope you enjoy my video today. If you like this recipe and you craft along with it, I hope you'll share it and tag me on any of the socials at LV Handcrafted so I can check out how you've played with this recipe. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.